And talk about the API opportunity. Will Indian API companies benefit from China's supply shortage? And will the price inflation within this segment last for long? And will new capacities in API lead to deflation? These are the questions that we're going to be posing to Sudarshan Jain, Senior Advisor, Apex Partners, and former Managing Director at Abbott Healthcare as well, joining in on the show right now. Sudarshan, hi, morning. Good to have you on the show. Thanks so much for taking the time out and joining in. How is it that you're reading into the opportunity for Indian API manufacturers in the global markets? And is Chinese disruption leading to high global opportunities, would you suspect?
So good morning. It is great to join on this session. If we look at the API market globally, the global market is around $160 billion and it is expected to go up to $250 billion. At this moment, our market share of the global market is around 8%, whereas China is around 40%, and there are other countries like Italy, Germany, France and Malaysia are major players in this market. Over the years, if we see Chinese company have made big dent because of the subsidy by the government, and they have created big parks. There are 15 free trade zones, there are 53 technical parks, but there are concerns lately on account of environmental concerns. And now is a big opportunity as far as India is concerned, because we have got strong technical base, we have got maximum US FDA approved plant, and on wage front we are relatively better compared to say China. So I see API sector offering big opportunity for the Indian companies.
The Indian pharma industry has gone through a series of checks and audits from the US FDA. But in the API business, what is your sense? Do you think the scrutiny is not that stringent and Indian API companies will be able to fulfill all the basic regulatory requirements?
Like if you see, we have got the maximum US FDA approved plant. We have got more than 300 plants which are US FDA approved, and as a result, there will be maximum audits which will take place in India. We tend to look only where the notification has come in. It's the usual part. If you see the percentage of notification which are there for Indian companies are relatively less. It has been around 14% during this year compared to 15-16% for China. And there is a lot of emphasis by Indian entrepreneurs and Indian manufacturers to lay a lot of thrust on quality. And I think this will make hell of a difference, and Indian entrepreneurs, they are conscious of this requirement. So two big things as far as API business is concerned is one is scaling up opportunity for Indian sector, because once you scale it up, you have got cost advantage as far as the whole sector is concerned. And second is improving the quality perception. On both the fronts, a lot of efforts is undertaken by Indian entrepreneurs, Indian manufacturers, and I see this is a big movement going forward as far as API industry is concerned. Only caveat I would like to add is the government support in that endeavor, which is bound to come in, because APIs are governed, like say if our industry, pharma industry is governed by price control, and if there is a price inflation at this particular moment because of the China supply going down, it does not give benefit as far as formulation price is concerned, because API price is separate than formulation price. So my suggestion will be that if government can recognize that fact, that whenever there is price increase as far as API is concerned, consequent price increase in formulation to be granted, and the representation and the implementation of Katoj committee, which talked of mega parks, giving incentive for the development of API industry. In fact, 2015 was declared as API year. We should go big hog as far as API industry is concerned, because this is the industry which is very important from our country point of view. This is the industry where we have got competitive advantage, and we should leverage competitive advantage and go for increased investment in this particular sector, because it will help the Indian industry and it will help as a country also, because our dependence on API on China at this particular moment is high. We need to reduce that dependence on China as far as this sector is concerned.
Mr. Jain, do you expect more investment in API manufacturing from Indian players? Do you think this will capture the price inflation in API?
At this particular moment, the investment which is coming is moderate. It is not really showing on the ground, but I expect that it should come in, and it is also dependent on the government policy of pricing. The government can play a very important role here. It is an opportunity for us to leverage the India advantage, and API is an important industry. So if government policy supports it, then both government and Indian entrepreneurs can join hands together to leverage this opportunity. Because let's not forget, Chinese government played a very important role for the development of API industry in China. What is expected at this particular moment, if there is price revision wherever there is impact on the formulation price, so it leads to the development of this sector, because if API in the initial stages will be more expensive compared to what is being imported from China, consequent price increase should be granted to the formulation, point number one. And point number two, if we can create mega parks, what was recommended by Katoch committee, we will provide incentive for Indian manufacturers to scale up their manufacturing capacity, because that is also a very important factor for the cost effectiveness of the API. Because at the end of the day, what is important for API business is cost benefit, cost advantage as far as that particular API is concerned. Second is the supply reliability, which is very, very important. And third is the process improvement, because with continuous manufacturing and automation getting into this sector, the process improvement will lead to improved cost advantage. And I think India stands advantage, India has advantage in all these areas to strengthen our position in the API sector.
The API business, some would argue, is the business which does not have a lot of pricing power. API is not, the sterile, the sterilite business, or the business which essentially could be called as complex generic. So, where do you think Indian industry is headed? Because the China gain could be a one-time gain. Ultimately, this advantage may not last long.
The second, and you have posed the right kind of question, is going forward, which are the areas where we should focus as far as API is concerned. So, one is say small molecules, conventional APIs like anti-infectives. We need to also up the game as far as API is concerned. We have to go in the new emerging sectors and focus more on cardiovasculars, oncology, and the CNS space, because these are the growing space. We have to get also into biologicals, because those are the products for the future. So, we need to relatively up the game as far as API is concerned in terms of the kind of products which we want to focus on. That's point number one. Point number two, also the spread of geographies. At this particular moment, US is a big market for us. We have to expand our footprints in Europe. We have to expand our footprints in Japan and also Asia. So, it is the question of where to play and how to play as far as API space is concerned. So, which product categories, which geographies, that will be important decision to capitalize on API opportunity.
Okay. So, closing comments, which are the Indian companies do you think have potential to capture the API space? It's a large opportunity. This opportunity existed 20 years ago also, but only 6 or 7 Indian companies have been pure API world ranking companies. Which are the ones which, according to you, will really make it to the cut?
I will not specifically talk of 1 or 2 companies, but according to me, all of them, the large Indian companies, whether it is Sun, whether it is Lupin, whether it is Glenmark, they are in the API space. Then we have got Jubilant and Piramal. Then we have got pure API companies like Divi's and Dishman and Loris. All of them, they are capable of playing the game. Up till now, the focus was only on formulations, but API opportunity again is a big opportunity, and it is not only China. China, yes, will give immediate advantage, but from a long-term point of view, we have to evaluate opportunities to spread in the geographies as well as up the scale of the APIs which we want to market.
Let you go on that note, Mr. Jain. Many thanks for joining in, talking to us a little bit more about the overall API opportunity and whether or not it can be the next big game changer for exports.